Today we're going to talk about soil, the different types of soil that there are, why they matter, and what you can do to improve the soil that you already have. Let's briefly describe what we mean when we talk about soil. Soil is simply a descriptive name for the size of particle that we're finding in the ground. So if somebody says the word sand, that's the size of a particle that's small enough that can still be seen by the naked eye. The next size down that we find here in Florida is something called silt, which can only be seen under a microscope. And the smallest particle that I'm going to talk about today is clay. And your clay is so small that it requires a high power magnification under a microscope to be able to see that. Okay, Celeste, so why do I care about the size of the particle in my dirt? I'm so glad you asked. Check out this video real quick.
So this is a water bottle with rocks in it, and similarly to sand, it's a large particle. And the water, when poured over top of it, drains freely through the bottom of the water bottle. And in a similar way, your sand is just having everything drain through. Your water's draining through, any nutrients are draining through. It's really not doing anything super exciting for your plants. What you want to create is something called a loamy soil. And really what that means is equal parts of sand, silt, and clay in order to retain moisture, to retain nutrients, and to deliver those things to your plant's root system. I'm going to briefly show you some of the different types of soil that I have in my backyard. The first of which is just your bagged soil. But let me show you kind of a quick test you can do to see what you're working with. If you grab a handful of your soil and tightly squeeze it and then let go and kind of sift it through your hand, you can determine whether things are more sand-like. Here you can see me grabbing a handful of sand and it just sifts through my fingers. You can see the individual grains of sand, each little particle there, whereas this next container is full of my raised bed soil, and this is compost, it's manure, it was some bagged soil, and also mulch that's broken down over time. This is pretty loamy. You can see when I grab it and hold it, it kind of holds its shape and then it crumbles apart. Now I don't have any clay, but I wanted to show you this peat moss, and it really holds a tightly packed ball, and you can see how much moisture that actually retains. Now you don't want a lot of clay in your soil, because if you have a lot of clay, it's really going to stunt your root growth. It's going to make it difficult for water and nutrients to pass through.
Okay, so let's say you've determined that you have sandy soil. All hope is not lost. There are some things that you can do to help your soil, and they use this fancy word called amending your soil. The only thing that means is adding some good stuff to your soil. So let's say you have sandy soil, you want to create some loamy soil, which we know now means the sand, the silt, and the clay, and a nice equal balance so that it holds on to all of its nutrients. You can add some organic matter. And organic matter, all that means is adding something like compost, adding something like a manure, because those types of things are going to kind of level out the difference between just your sandy soil, giving it something to retain moisture, and is also going to add nutrients to your garden. Thanks so much for joining us today. I hope that you learned a little bit about soil and what you can do to improve the soil that you already have. Please be sure to subscribe and like the videos, and we'll be sending more content to you really soon.